Another superhero that I was thinking of is a Gronk spike like Thor's hammer being smashed?
Well, there's
Ooh.
Thor. Noah Syndergaard is pitching today, and he
Oh,
has
that's
the
right.
nickname
That's
of
right.
Thor because he actually looks like Thor.
That's right. I forgot because he had a year off. I hadn't heard anybody call him Thor in a while. But yeah, that's a very good point. But
Chelsea, this is very impressive, your knowledge of athletes and superheroes. You've really taken this and stretched this out. I'm impressed.
I
yeah,
don't think anybody's impressed with that conversation. But I literally just asked who Robin was. So
fair point. But
Fair enough.
somebody that's a little bit better than Robin and maybe even a superhero himself, Luka Doncic, he put up 45 points last night, but the Suns still won. So fact or fiction, Jenks, does Luka need another superstar in order to contend with the Mavericks?
Yes, he needs another star. And I love what the Mavs have done. And I wasn't initially a fan of them bringing in Spencer Dinwiddie. I think he's been a great addition to this roster as far as being able to shoot from the outside. But they have Jalen Brunson, who's an absolute stud, and he's going to get paid. But this is a star-driven league, and most of the teams in this league now, that's just the way the NBA is. You have to have more than one superstar, and you have to be deep. Look at the Heat. They're impressive from top to bottom. So are the Celtics. So are the Suns. So are the Warriors. They have depth, and they have different guys who can hurt you every single night. The Heat are a perfect example, and I know this is just one game, but in a game where you would think, okay, Jimmy Butler's going to dominate. This is his time. He's the best player on the team. It's Bam Adebayo and Tyler Hero because Bam didn't have anybody to be physical with him on the inside because Joel Embiid was out, and Tyler Hero's a hell of a player. So the Mavericks are one of those teams that don't have that type of depth. They're always going to be in games because they do have talent and they do have Luka, who's one of the best players in the world, but they need someone else besides just Luka and Jalen Brunson. So it's fact for me.
absolute fact. We were just talking about how every Batman needs a Robin. You especially need a Robin in the NBA. In fact, looking at the top teams in the NBA, not only is it Batman and Robin, it's also Batman, Robin, Catwoman, whoever. I don't even know the nicknames of all of the Marvel superheroes, but you get what I'm saying. Look at the Heat. They have a whole cast of characters who are ready to contribute on any game's notice. You know, you look at these teams that even just have two superstars, and it's not enough in today's NBA. You look at Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. You need more than that. So looking at Luka, yeah, he can put up 40 on each and every night. Look across the league. We're seeing that with Nikola Jokic as well. He can put up the biggest numbers you've ever seen. He can be the league MVP, and look at the Nuggets. They're bounced after the first round. So that is just the way the NBA works right now. You need more than one superstar. In fact, you probably need three. So this is an absolute fact. Luka has got to have some help in Dallas.
Yeah, you got to make that 3 for 3. Luka needs a lot of help. I mean, you look at teams across the league, they're an entire team of Avengers. It's not just one
Right.
superhero, it's not just
Ah.
two. Like, you have a whole team of them. You have Kevin Durant couldn't win a ring on his own, and he still can't, unfortunately. James Harden hasn't been able to win a ring. Steph Curry had to get KD. I mean, LeBron had to team up with Dwayne Wade. Like, there have been numerous superstars that have had to team up with players that were also superstars in order to get their ring. Kobe and Shaq is another one. You have the three that were in San Antonio. Like, nobody just wins a ring alone anymore. And speaking of winning rings alone, without Joel Embiid, James Harden, he came up short last night, shocker. He was only 16 points, and he's having his worst postseason since 2012. And that's saying something because he's had a lot of not so great postseasons. But fact or fiction, Chelsea, Harden can no longer lead a team alone.
Fact. Where is the evidence otherwise? Because I would love to look at the glass half full in this scenario. But here's the thing. James Harden keeps proving all the doubters right. We see him in a spot where he can take the lead for the Sixers. He can put up the big numbers. Remember those days when James Harden used to score 40 points and lead his team, you know, in the box score? Those days are long gone. And the knock on James Harden is he has been bad in the postseason. He kind of wilts when the defense is good and when he's not getting the foul calls, when he's doing that step back three and the foul calls aren't going his way. So this is an absolute fact. And until he proves otherwise, the narrative still stands. James Harden can no longer lead a team alone. We saw it last night.
Yeah, I think he's done. I agree. This is a fact. This is his time. This is why they brought him in. James Harden came into this organization. Daryl Morey brought him in to be that guy who could be another superstar alongside Joel Embiid. And with the exception of the first 2 or 3 games they played together when they looked great and we thought, oh, wow, Philly is really onto something here. But Chelsea, one thing we said as soon as that happened is, will this be sustainable? It's one thing to do it for 2 or 3 games. It's quite another to do it throughout the rest of the regular season and into the playoffs, particularly when you're a guy like James Harden, who seems to always be injured, have hamstring injuries, or is a guy who hasn't had a lot of success in the postseason. I know the Heat are focusing their efforts on slowing him down, and I'm not saying that's a waste because it's certainly effective, but ultimately, we have seen nothing from James Harden. Even early on in the season with the Nets, he wasn't great. He was okay. We heard reports that Kevin Durant was frustrated with him. James Harden is not the same player. This is a fact.
I find it a little bit ironic that James Harden wanted out of Brooklyn because he was tired of playing alone, and now he's with Philadelphia and he's playing alone, and he's being exposed. I mean,
Right.
James Harden was already having his worst career shooting year before he got traded, and now he's working alone again like he was with the Nets. And with the Nets, I think he was afraid of being exposed for not being as great as he has been in the past. But with Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, he was able to mask it. Without them, he was exposed and he didn't like it, and he wanted to try and win while he was still considered a superstar and all that fun stuff. But like now that Joel Embiid is hurt, as he usually is, unfortunately, you're seeing James Harden have to try and do it alone. And honestly, that shouldn't be the case because Tobias Harris is a max contract player. And like he scored 26 last night, but I don't know. The Sixers are a mess, it seems. And speaking of messes, Draymond Green, he had that flagrant 2 that was questionable to some people's eyes, but you know how it works in the playoffs with technicals and flagrant 2s and flagrant 1s. You will get suspended if you accrue enough. Draymond is a victim of this, as 2016 final fans will remember. But after that flagrant 2, he is at 2 points already. You need 4 points to get suspended. So factor fiction, Jenks, will Green get suspended and in turn sink the Warriors' postseason hopes?
No, this is a tough one. I'm going to say, well, here's the thing. I'm going to say fact that he will be suspended. I don't necessarily think that it will sink the Warriors' chances, though. Those sound bites listening to Draymond Green were enlightening, but also a little bit frustrating, because if you listen to Draymond himself, what does he say? He is adamant. He's not going to change the way he plays at all. He doesn't know how to do it. He's been successful. He's won chips. He's been a defensive player of the year. He's been on all-star teams. Why would he change now? And all that is that's a very justifiable point. I get that. The problem is you're going to hurt your team, and you do need to take your surroundings into consideration and understand the context. Yeah, in and of itself, if you're talking about game 47 against the Kings in the regular season, who cares? This is the playoffs. Every man needs to be available, including Draymond Green. And you listen to Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, they say, yeah, we want Draymond to be Draymond, but also understand the seriousness here. This is the NBA playoffs. You missing a game could hurt us. So I'll say fact. I don't know if Green has it in him to peel back when he needs to, but I don't necessarily think if he misses one game, it will torpedo Golden State. So I'll say fact with a caveat.
I'm not sure if he'll get suspended, but I do think that the Warriors are in big trouble if Draymond Green gets suspended for even a game in the playoffs. The rest of the competition is just too good. And we saw this Warriors team without Draymond Green this season. They were 19-17, barely a winning record without Draymond Green in the lineup. Even when you don't see good numbers in the box score correlating to Draymond Green, he is so good defensively, and he makes such a difference for this Warriors team. I know that they have the death lineup even without Draymond Green, but still, we are talking about a Western Conference with a Suns team that is healthier than ever. They've got Devin Booker, they've got the point guard in Chris Paul, and then looking across at the East, there's certainly some beasts coming out of the East. So if the Warriors want to win another title, they need all of their pieces. So I think if Draymond Green is out, they certainly are sunk.
All I got to say is if he does get suspended, hopefully for the Warriors' sake, it'll come before the NBA Finals this time. But Draymond's going to keep running his mouth. He might get suspended, he might not, but I don't think it'll cost him too much unless it's in the finals again.
Well, here's the problem. That foul call, the flagrant foul call, was a little bit questionable, but it's on his reputation, and he's doing nothing to stop it. He's running his mouth. He's giving high fives to the crowd. So that's the problem. He is skating on such thin ice that it's a real possibility that he could get suspended. So, yeah, drama ensues whenever Draymond Green is on the court.